Welcome back, everybody. I'm Tassie, and this is Shaman Memoirs. I am back from my trip to California, and honestly, it was a trip of Exuma. Now, let me take you guys back. So, I have been trying to get into vlogging, and here we are at the Capital One Lounge at MSP. And I absolutely love going to the lounges. They have really good food there usually, and of course, alcohol. But we always travel early in the morning, so I never actually get to enjoy the alcohol. I don't drink alcohol early in the morning. I am an evening drinker. And on the plane, I will talk about this later, you guys, I couldn't sleep. And so I took a sandwich from the lounge. It was just a pesto, simple salami cheese sandwich, but it was delicious, you guys. I got it from the lounge. Now, I couldn't sleep on the plane, and finally I watched Exuma. And I will get all into Exuma, you guys, because it followed me throughout this whole trip. Here we are going through the Denver airport, and the Denver airport is massive, absolutely massive. And you guys will just see how far this actually was to get to our gate.
Thank you so much.
When you think it's over and we've reached our gate, it is not over. We are still going. This ride was probably a 5-minute ride on the cart, and he is honking at everyone to get out of our way. He is trying as fast as he can to get us to our gate. And when you think it's over, we're still going. And we're still going. That's right. Out of our way, you guys. We have a plane to catch. We were so far away from our actual gate. We would have never made it had we not met this guy. And he's still honking at people to get out of our way. Here we are to B69. It was a nightmare, you guys. Now, on our flight from Denver to Fresno, there was a ton of turbulence. We didn't actually know about this, but because there was a snowstorm happening, a lot of flights got grounded and canceled. But we were able to make it out. Shout out to Molly for helping to record. Here is where we captured a lot of the turbulence. This is probably the worst turbulence I've ever experienced on a flight. I'm telling you guys, it was bad. But I kept looking out the window and praying that that little wing was going to stay onto that plane. Again, the worst turbulence. Now, I was seriously praying for that wing stay on that plane. And then before you know it, we reached Fresno. This is actually not Fresno. That was a city outside of Fresno. Here we are in Fresno. And I wanted to capture our landing. See how bad the landing is? Now, surprisingly, at the Fresno airport when we landed, it was very muggy. I think I'm always shocked at how muggy Fresno is, because mugginess definitely I associate with the Midwest and Minnesota, but not in Fresno, because usually in California, they get the dry, hot heat, but this was muggy. And I will also say that it had rained a lot the week prior. And here is Molly being amazing, getting the luggage while I wait to get our rental car, which try not to rent a car from Fresno. Okay, you will be in line for 45 minutes. There's like 2 people working, and each person, it will take you a good 20 minutes just to get checked out to get your car. Look how strong my assistant is. She's so strong. She lifted that 45-pound bag with one hand. And here we are on the road to Sacramento. It was cheaper to fly into Fresno, that's why. And in Sacramento, there is a lot of traffic. Here is Molly doing our driving, my chauffeur. Getting very close. Yeah, I gotta think spirits. That was worse. Do your whistling.
Imagine the video can't pick up our noises we're making, so it just looks like we are puckering our lips. Oh, hey, we're by the Cal Expo where we stayed last time.
Yeah, I was obsessed with whistling on this trip. Here we are at my student's house. We are preparing to get all of her tools nice and clean, all prepared for her shrine. Look at her cute, super cute tools. And here I am trying to get all the strings cut for her. Again, because I'm terrible. Oh my gosh. Oh, I heard the mango one's really good.
Yes, it is. The orange one is the best one.
Oh. Thank you. You guys did not have to get us any snacks.
Of course.
This is so cute. Oh, Molly can't eat this.
Oh, I figure she might not because it's a little.
And here I am finishing the Exuma movie. And of course, Molly is freaking out. She ran away at this point. She didn't want to watch any more of Exuma. I will get all into Exuma. I'll get close. Here we are at Trader Joe's. You guys, California Trader Joe's is nothing like Minnesota Trader Joe's. The Trader Joe's out there is like a full grocery store. Our Trader Joe's is about half the size and really bad parking. So in my previous videos, anybody in California, you probably had no idea what I meant when I was talking about Trader Joe's, because your guys' Trader Joe's is massive. And then of course I had to grab my favorite goodies. I get these all the time. And the cinnamon sugar almonds, you guys. This was sold out in Minnesota, so I couldn't believe I found it here. And then we got some snacks. before we headed out to dinner at K-Town. Originally, we usually go to Daikon, but K-Town is new, so I wanted to check it out, and we loved it. We absolutely loved K-Town. I'm going back to Sacramento soon, and I will be back to K-Town for sure. The variety was awesome, but I am a really weak individual, so all of this food I'm about to show you, you have to carry it back yourself. This part is not the bad part. You'll see what I'm talking about. It is the trays of all the other stuff, because the other stuff weighs a lot. And it was super hard to record and try to get my food at the same time. They even have a seafood boil just there. These trays are very heavy. So we brought all of our trays back and we had an amazing first dinner in Sacramento. And in case you did not know, K-Town does hot pot and sushi. And here is the ceremony day. So we are preparing to get our coffee, driving out back to my student's house, which unfortunately she lived 30 to 40 minutes from our hotel. And we're trying whistling again. Getting better. Molly is so annoying. Now, my student got this star bread, which I have no idea what star bread is. I don't like sweet breads, but I saw everybody really loved it. So I wanted to showcase it for you guys. And here I am showing my students how to cut papers for ceremonies. And they were, even though they've done and they've actually cut papers before, it's always kind of nice to have that refresher. So I was just showing them how to cut chuanda. And chuandas are very easy. And a fun fact, a long time ago when I first raised my shrine, everyone forgot how to cut these. So I took a pair of scissors and I went to the paper and I asked my spirit guides, how do I cut the paper? And my spirit guides actually taught me how to cut the paper. So this is how you cut the chuanda. And chuanda, it's basically, or like wind paper. This is what you put behind your client that you are going to va when you do a ceremony. Here I am helping to set up my students' first altar for the very first time. It's always so beautiful and so sweet. Okay, I think all your ceremonies, but definitely your first one. The one that felt like it would never come, okay? That ceremony is always the best when you have your first shrine up. And then I am showing all of my students there how to hoopli before I actually went to do the ceremony to bridge my student and her spirit guides. And here we are reading the chickens for my student so that she can understand how to read them in the future. And they had amazing Jollibee because we told them we have never had Jollibee. So they ordered a ton of Jollibee for the ceremony. And I have to say, I get it. I get the Jollibee craze. And in the evening, we ended up going to this place called the Golden Nugget, which is a massive grocery store. It's pretty much like a Whole Foods, Lund's and at Kowalski's put together. And you guys, California sells raw milk. We do not have raw milk for sale in Minnesota. It's illegal. You have to find the Amish to get raw milk. And they have a lot of cold, fresh pressed juices, which was really cool. They're amazing desserts. A favorite pastime of mine is checking out grocery stores. Here we are hanging out our last day with everybody, just catching up with all the students.
Yeah, the trash recycling is like, you know, like if you're throwing away or the green. Or yeah, into the green. Yeah.
I almost had it.
Well, Maya's been doing it. She's been using that.
Yes, my student owns a harp, you guys. And here we are the morning after, headed back home to Minnesota. We are going to the Sacramento airport, getting ready to just go home. We were actually slated to fly into Chicago, and we were only supposed to be in Chicago for about an hour before we actually went home. And here we are going to check into the airport. It was very quick and easy. There was not a lot of people there, but it was also Super Bowl Sunday. And this is the lounge in Sacramento. If you've never been to the lounge in Sacramento, I think this was also a Capital One lounge. I travel a lot, so I go to the lounges, you guys. And this lounge was very large, and it was pretty empty. Again, probably because it's Super Bowl Sunday. And here we are getting ready to board. The flight was very uneventful. We slept because we were so exhausted. And then before you know it, we are in Chicago. Chicago airport is also very large. And I do find that the Denver and the Chicago airport, it's pretty nice. But last minute, they made us do a gate change. So we're busting it to the other side of the airport. And then we are back home. I'm super excited to be back home. That's right. The South Korean movie called Exuma. And, you know, I know people have told me for, I don't know how long now, quite a while, you guys have recommended that I watch Exuma. I've had my student ask me to watch Exuma. And let's just say I finally decided to watch Exuma. And I did scream on the plane. I feel like my trip was really about Exuma, and it was all meant to be that I watched it starting on this trip. So can you whistle? Okay, can you whistle? Because I cannot. I tried a lot when I was a kid and I could never get it, so I stopped. And I found out that Korean shamans, mudangs, they whistle to get the spirits to come to them. So let's just say during this trip, a lot of it, Molly and I, we were trying to whistle. Because, you know, we would not make very good mudangs because we could not whistle to get the spirits' attention. Now, I will say this. I was able to whistle more when I was thinking of calling the spirits. Whenever I thought of calling the spirits and purposely trying to get their attention, then I was able to whistle. But for the most part, no, I cannot whistle. I still need to work at it. But I felt like after 24 hours of continuously trying, I got a lot better. My boyfriend, he can whistle like nothing. So for anyone who's never seen Exuma, you must watch Exuma. And the second half of Exuma gets pretty scary. So literally on the plane, like flying out to Sacramento, when you are traveling, you have to literally from Minnesota, it's the connecting flights. If you want a direct flight, you're looking around $1,000. Okay. So we were trying, like, what is the cheapest way to get there? So we flew into Fresno, and on the flight to Denver, we landed in Denver. Side note, you guys, I did not know how big Denver was. Denver is massive, you guys, absolutely massive. They dropped us off at gate C8, and we had to make it to C69 in like 15 minutes. Okay. We were, okay. Like there are elderly people who can walk faster than me. Like, I don't know what it is. But literally, we were running to our gate, and we didn't even have like luggage other than our little bag full of snacks, okay? We were trying to curtail our way across this airport, and this airport goes on for like a mile, you guys, probably 2 miles. Literally, there's like literally at the airport, they have that moving conveyor belt, like, because it's so far, and we were hustling. And then this amazing guy saw the desperation in my face, and he jumped off of his cart, okay? And usually it's reserved for the elderly and disabled. But he jumped off his cart, and he was like, how can I help you? And I was like, I need to get to gate C69. And he literally said to me, that is a mile away. Get on. And so we got on, and he was honking the horn, getting everybody to move, and he got us all the way up to the gate. He wasn't even supposed to go that far, but he didn't care. He continued driving where he wasn't supposed to anymore, and he got us to our gate, you guys. But when we got there, there was a girl who was also on the plane with us from Minneapolis, and she heard us that we had gotten a ride there. She turns around and she was like, I had to run. So, you know, like Denver, if you land in Denver, you guys, it looks like on the map it's just a long strip, but no, this long strip, it's like literally trying to get across to the other side of the Mall of America. It is so far away. And there is no Camp Snoopy that you can cut in between, okay? You just gotta go around the whole perimeter. It is so far. Now, on the plane though, you guys, so I kept seeing Exuma come up as a film to watch. But I was like, I don't know if I'm in the mood to watch like a scary movie right now, you know? So I kept flipping past it, and then I tried to take a nap because usually on planes I can fall asleep pretty easily. However, I could not sleep this time. I do not know why. Usually as soon as I sit down, I knock out because I've trained myself very well to fall asleep during plane rides. But this time it didn't work. So finally I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to watch it. I'm just going to see what this is all about. It's just a movie. And, you know, I had my headset on, and Molly is sitting next to me, and she keeps looking at my screen. And I'm like giving her the other headset, like, hey, do you want to listen to this? And she's like, no, because Molly is really, really afraid of scary movies. She doesn't like to watch scary movies at all. So this girl presumes to just read the subtitles and look at my screen monitor. And the beginning wasn't scary. I was like, you know, this really isn't scary at all. And for anyone who's not watched it, in a nutshell, it is a movie. It's not like a TV series. But basically what happens is called Exuma because they exhume the spirit. So in South Korea, apparently there are specialized geologists who pick out plots of lands for the wealthy, so they can have their ancestors buried in a good spot. If you're buried in a good spot, it says it's supposed to be, okay, this is Tassie's Cliff Notes, okay? I am not a specialist in any of this, in their culture at all or what they're doing. From what I gathered about this movie, it's supposedly, if your family becomes sick, if you guys start to have a lot of bad luck, you tend to dig out the plot of land that you had buried your ancestors into, and you have to exhume the spirit so the spirit goes, so it doesn't haunt you guys, and then you open up the actual coffin, and you like observe the bones and everything, and you make sure that everything is okay. So that is why it's called Exuma, because you are exhuming the spirit. And in this movie, basically, it also involves shamans doing rituals. And I heard through TikToks and YouTube shorts that when the actress portraying the actual shaman, she tried to call this entity back, and apparently she really called a real demon. So the shaman on set helping out had to intervene, etc. But it was actually a really good movie, and I did scream on the plane because there is a very particular scene, and just think of you hear a woman's scream. Okay, so if you've seen the movie, you know what scene I'm talking about when they're in the woods and then they hear the scream, okay? Like that part, I screamed out loud. And when I screamed out loud, I looked away and I looked up and I saw everybody in the rows in front of me. They all jumped too. I am sorry if you guys heard a woman screaming on the plane. That was me. If you were flying from Minneapolis to Denver, that was me. Now, here's the fun part, okay? During the scary scene, Molly would quickly turn away and like block her vision, but she's in the middle row. So there's this guy sitting next to Molly, and Molly is like super close to him, and he's just like giggling at Molly because he knows Molly is trying to watch the scary movie through my screen. And Molly's just like trying not to think about it. All right, so when we landed, okay, we only got to 41 minutes in this movie. When we landed in Denver, we had to curtail our way across the airport, finally make it there, catch our next flight, and we ended up getting there a little late for some reason, leaving MSP. And so when we got on the plane, I was like, okay, I'll finish the movie on the next plane before we hit Fresno. And when I ended up getting onto that plane, there was no monitor. There was no screen. So I was like, okay, I'll look for it on my phone. Because usually on a plane, if there's no actual monitor, you can hook up to their Wi-Fi and look at it on your phone. So I was going through all the movies and there was no Exuma on the mobile app. So I'm like, great. And it's on Amazon Prime. So I was like, okay, maybe on our return flight from Sacramento back to Minneapolis, then I'll watch it, right? But thankfully, we get to my student's house the first night, and she actually has Amazon Prime. So she fast forwarded up to the 41 minutes, and then I was able to watch the rest of it. But unfortunately for Molly, she literally, now there's just full volume, okay? There is just full volume. You're watching the whole movie. And Molly is like freaking out behind me because Molly did not want to watch Exuma, but I needed to see the rest of this film. So my student was trying to entertain Molly and keep her distracted and not pay attention to the movie. But the second half of Exuma is really bad. It is really bad. The second half. Oh my God, the scene of how they portrayed and did the sleep paralysis on the shaman assisted, it was so good. But Molly was like freaking out behind me, like her mind was breaking. Okay, so if you haven't seen it, watch it, you know, because then I really want to do like a little deep dive into some of the things that we saw. And you know, I'm cracking up because I always like to do things that I know make Molly very uncomfortable. All right, so why did I say it was the weekend of Exuma? Okay, like literally, there is a character in Exuma that I felt that I ended up meeting, okay? And it is the Japanese general, okay? If you've seen Exuma, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, what, Tassie? Yeah. So the first night when we got there really late in Fresno, and then we headed up to Sacramento. And literally, it was super, super late. So as we're in the hotel, you know, usually I allow Molly to pick her bed. She can choose the bed that she wants. And so she picked the wrong one. And I was like, okay, you know what? I will stay in this bed. But it's getting to the point where Molly just wants to push the beds together. So anyways, I'm sleeping. And then as I'm going to sleep, I see this man. It looks like a Hmong man standing between the beds, and he starts walking towards us. And I'm like, whatever. And I roll over. I'm like, I'll let Molly deal with this. So that night, though, this man came into my dreams, and he was showing me the tsianeng. The Hmong tsianeng is a shaman tool that we use to capture spirits, okay? And he was showing me how to throw them. And now, side note really quick, there are shamans who do their ceremonies holding the tsianeng. And there are times where you will, the assistant has to hand the shaman the tsianeng as well. Normally, when I oneng, I do not ride with the actual tsianeng, okay? Usually, I use my rings, my juning. And
If there is a point where I do need the Jianning, I have my assistant throw it. So in my dream, he has the like aura. I was going to say the audacity is kind of the audacity. Okay. He kind of has the audacity, but the chupu, the aura of the Japanese soldier, general from the movie Exuma. And, but he was nice. He was just kind of intense. Okay. So he was nice, but very intense. And he showed me the original Hmong Jianning, and he was explaining it to me. And, you know, I woke up and I was like, that's weird because I never have dreams like this. Like, I don't have these kind of dreams. But it wasn't like a bad dream, but it was definitely a dream that stood out a lot. And then when I woke up, I told Molly, I was like, okay, when I go and raise my student coming up here in the coming days, I need to use the Jianning while I am going in my trance. So you're going to have to hand it to me. And so I was preparing her on what to do when that scenario comes up. And we end up going to my student's house and that day. So we're going to my student's house to kind of help her prepare her shrine and get all the tools washed and everything. And as soon as I get it, because usually whenever I go to a new place, I recognize where are all the ghosts and where are all the spirits in this house. And as soon as I get there, the same spirit, okay, of this ghostly man, this Hmong man, he's standing in the corner and he's watching me. And, you know, no matter where I move in this house, he is still watching me. And I'm like, oh, great. You know, like I'm going to have to take care of this spirit tomorrow during the ceremony day. But even when I was watching Exuma, he was very invested in ensuring I watch Exuma. And so I'm watching Exuma and he's just watching me, like making sure I watch the movie. And he's like trying to teach me through a haunted movie. And then, you know, I expressed it to my student, like, hey, just so you know, there's a man here. It feels like he was sent to you. Like, it's like somebody for your family, like who's deceased, like he's here and he's very like prevalent. And, it was really weird. So we go to Amazing Korean Barbecue, by the way. Oh my God, you guys, just so you guys know how good the food was. The food was so good. So we went to K-Town in Sacramento. And it was funny because I actually was talking to a client who is in Sacramento, and she recommended K-Town to me. Because usually I go to Daikon. Well, I wanted to go to Daikon, but my spirit guides wanted me to go to K-Town. So then we ended up switching. Instead of going to Daikon, we went to K-Town. It was so good, you guys. So anyways, so the day of the ceremony comes, and it was such a great day. I got to see all of my other students from the California area. They all came up as well. So just really hanging out and talking with them, catching up, because their ceremonies are also coming this year. I am going to California 6 times this year, you guys. 6 times, okay? Just let that sink in for a little bit. Not all of them are for students. Some of them are for ceremonies. Just let that sink in, you guys. 6 times. I'm going to be really tired of going to California and catching flights, okay? Because direct flights are just too expensive. So we have to catch a flight. And it's just the worst. Okay. I'm going to try to avoid Denver from now on. Arizona is the other really bad airport to go to. I am kind of nervous because one of my flights, it's going up to Seattle. And I Googled Seattle's airport. Seattle's airport is massive. So I'm kind of nervous about that flight too, because then we got 30 minutes to catch our next flight. Like, it literally takes off. They're already boarding. The minute we land, they're already boarding. Crossing fingers. Okay. Now, after I saw the spirit, though, in my student's house, I kept thinking about it. And then finally, Makwaning told me that this is their Yakong, and he is Zheng Zizong. So it was really interesting. I went to go in Oneng and on the ceremony day, and her grandfather, he is like Yakong. So her Yakong great-grandfather, he came and he told me that that Zheng Zizong is the only way to Wanning. Yeah, he didn't accept or didn't want any other style, right, for his granddaughter. And it was just a real interesting time, a real interesting conversation. Because if you guys have watched my videos, I don't like to negotiate a lot. I don't like to talk to spirits when I am trancing because I ain't got time for this. Okay, I'm here for work. I just want to get in and get out. But he was like trying to say to me that the Zheng Zizong will not recognize me if I don't come with the Jianeng. So I need to have the Jianeng. So I did. I did have the Jianeng and I did come. And it was really funny. Okay, so when I was going, I'm a weak individual. Okay, so the Jianeng, this is a medium-sized Jianeng. Okay, it's a pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy. And it's hard to hold it as you're going in your trance. And so I was like, man, I have no idea how this is going to go, right, with the Jianeng. But surprisingly, once my assistant put it into my hand, it was very light. It was very light. And there was this one scene where literally my spirit guides told me, okay, you need to throw it. And I didn't. I held on because I've never thrown the Jianeng while I'm in a trance before. So I held on to it. And then I freaked out because they were like, you're supposed to throw it. And then I threw it. I didn't capture it. Okay. So then they said, now we need to go back around. We need to do it again. So then my assistant hands me the Jianeng again. And I'm like, okay, I'll listen this time. I'll throw it when you tell me to. So then they said, throw it. And then I just tossed it blindly. And then I caught it. So it went really good. But it was very interesting because my students on the outside who are also Zheng Zizong heavy with their spirit guides, they all felt the pain on their arms and stuff like that. So it was very interesting having them there during my journey and that they were able to feel it too. And I didn't feel any physical pain, but my other students, they did, who was present. And it was a very good ceremony, though. It was a very good ceremony. And I remember her Yukong, he wanted to be in front, like to take her. And I reorganized her spirit guides so that her Tekwa, her main guides, are in front, and then her Yukong is behind them. Because he is going to take her and teach her because he wants to teach her the proper way of Zheng. But I had to make sure her Tekwa were first and not him first. So it was really funny because I kept giggling to myself that she's going to have to deal with the Japanese general. Okay, you guys. Now, for anybody who's not a shaman yet, right? Just so you know, especially if you do not have these type of spirit guides, because not everyone has Zheng Zizong. Zheng Zizong are what we call the spirit guides that come from your Dakwa, and a lot of times, I refer to them as the Hmong guides, okay? The Hmong guides are very much, this is the way. This is the only way. And they are very strict. They're very in your face. But it's funny because they are the ones that give you physical ailments. Like shamans, they give the shamans physical ailments. Where, you know, like back then, I used to tell you guys, like, I had to one day every single day after I raised my shrine. There was not a single day I could take a break, okay? And because if I start my day and I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to have time. I'm going to go to dinner. You know? I think I'm going to go to dinner instead of going to Wanning. My leg would hurt. And then I would walk with a limp, okay? Literally, I'm walking with a limp, you guys. This is the kind of physical pain and ailments that the Zheng will do to you. So I was like, and then when I'm limping, okay, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go to dinner. I'll just eat food at home. I will Wanning today, and then I can walk again. Perfectly fine. But you know, sometimes I'll be like feeling a little too good again. I forget my ways. And then I'm like, nah, I'm going to go to dinner. Immediately, I cannot. It's like you testing it sometimes. You know, that's the human in us, okay? Once we are feeling good, we like to pretend that, you know, it was a fluke, right? It's not real. They're not going to hurt you. So you test your limits, like how much can I get away with? And then all of a sudden the pain comes back instantly, okay? And then I'm limping around again at work. So, you know, I just go in awning, okay? And then I'll do dinner after my awning session. But they are the very to-do, like right away, fast, now. And but those who do not have as many or any of the zhuzheng, they get a lot of the mental ailments like depression and feeling like they're crazy and feeling angry suddenly and then really sad suddenly. But they come out a lot when you are in your trance for shamans, and they are your gut instincts. They are the ones that just tell you just right away what to do and what is the answer. They are not very talkative as far as, you know, like very bubbly. Like one time, I swear I told you guys this in a video a long time ago. I had this this spirit guide that looks like a goat with very shaggy hair. And I remember I was like, oh my God. And I went to go ruffle his fur and everything. And it literally looked at me and it literally said to me, I'm not a pet. I was like, my bad. So those are zhuzheng. And so that's how come sometimes you're going to come across even some Hmong people who are very adamant about the only true way of Oneng, right? They are very adamant. They're very passionate. It's not necessarily 100% their fault, right? Because they also probably have a lot of zhuzheng, okay? They are going to be the black caps, okay? They are very passionate, and this is the way that they know. So that is how zhuzheng are, though. And you know, lately I've been talking in videos about how this one shaman came by, and she said to me that I have a very motherly spirit guide that is just super motherly and very nurturing. And I'm always like, who? Like, where is this person? She came out. She actually came out because during the time of me talking to the Yakong, the zhuzheng Japanese general guy, because he was adamant, like, no, like his granddaughter must be zhuzheng only. Like, he's not going to accept any of the other spirit guides, right? And the motherly guide came out, and she literally said, we hear what you're saying, but that's not going to be how it's going to be done. And this is what you must accept. And literally, no matter what he said, like, my spirit guides were like, let's just kill this one. Okay, I have some spirit guides were like, let's just cut him off. Like, we're done. We're not here to talk, okay? That is my zhuzheng speaking, by the way. They were like, let's just get rid of this spirit in front of us. We don't need him anyways. But I was like, no, this is my student's dakwa. We can't just get rid of it. And literally the motherly one came out. And no matter what he said, it was like this shield, this aura that was like calming that spirit down. And it worked. Okay. So yeah, that was like, I noticed I rarely have her come out during my ceremonies. And you know, I was going to say something, but I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. Okay. So we're just going to move on. But it was really, really great because then, my student, she is doing absolutely fantastic. You know, like, during the first shrine, especially if you've never done it, like, she was asking me at the beginning a lot of questions of what's it like? You know, like, what happens? What is that feeling like after your first shrine? So frequently we've been talking about how before a ceremony, it is a nightmare. It is an absolute nightmare, you guys. Literally, it is just, like, you just want to fight everybody. The tree, you know, the door. You're just ready to fight. And everyone in the house feels this frenziness, this craze in the air. And literally after the ceremony, it's like the sun shines again. Birds are chirping and everything is okay. And you are so glad when the ceremony is over. You really are. But for me, after my first shrine, it felt like this wall came down and a gush of all this water came out. and all this Chinese came out of me when I first did it. And it was pretty instant. However, in the following days, it got stronger and stronger and stronger. And for my student there, she was saying words, and she speaks a lot of Hmong, okay, when she goes. But it is a mixture as well of Chinese and Hmong, but she spoke a lot of Hmong. And, you know, sometimes I forget that people who are not used to Nang words, like there are certain words that shamans use in their chants that is not a word commonly used in normal conversation for Hmong people. So it's something that you don't recall, or you don't, maybe you've heard it in passing at ceremonies, but you never realize it is a Nang word. So she was saying a lot of Nang words, and she's never said this word before. She didn't know what it was, but her chants were beautiful. And oh God, I gotta tell you guys this too. I just recalled her spirit guides were really funny, because we were putting the tape, the paper down on her shrine, and her spirit guides didn't say anything to me, but they came down at my same eye level, and they're looking at it with me, and I could feel them all around me watching, and I'm carefully taping everything down, because like they were telling me exactly how they wanted it, but they were like trying not to say anything that would offend me. But the amount of intense pressure from them, it was a lot, man. I was like, oh gosh. I'm so glad those days are over for me. Okay, I hope, knock on wood, knocking on wood, knocking on wood. Trust me, there are times where my guides still do that, but it was just really funny just seeing a student go through that. And yes, we taped down her shrine really good the way they wanted it. And it was just really funny. It was the same way we both saw the image. And she did really well for her first shrine there. But I will say, unfortunately, though, you know, they do not want to stay on the first shrine for very long. And that's why I have to go back to California. But no, it was definitely a really, really great trip. I absolutely love seeing my students and just hanging out with them and catching up, because I feel like as we have conversations, there are things that, you know, I forget to tell people, or, you know, I think that it's really great that they know about this and that. So I always like to have genuine just conversation and hanging out with my students and their spouses, just getting to know them too, and hearing their struggles. And when they see each other, they really can understand that they can lean on each other and know what they're going through and how they are very similar or very different in so many ways. So that was definitely a wonderful trip, and I am heading out soon here to go to Wisconsin to raise my other student. So the first quarter here, it's all about me raising students right now. And in case you guys did not know, what was Tassie's punishment for running away for 10 years? For every year I did not oneng, I had to take on a student. Because you guys, there's a lot of shamans who don't want to take on students. And the reason why I say that is because taking on students is a lot of work. You have to be able to, one, protect your student, and two, make sure that they're going the right way. And, you know, when it comes to students, a lot of times it is about building their confidence, and it does take time. And one of the things I always recommend is taking on clients, because when you take on clients, and for my lineage, during your second shrine, you can begin to take on clients. And when you do, though, that is what's going to give you the most experience. You know, you're going to go through, you know, like the beginning, it's always just like in Lord of the Rings. It is beautiful. You're discovering and sensing and learning to see a whole new spiritual world. And then the second level comes. The second level is now going to be a real test if you are prepared for your third one. Because during the second level, you're going to get tested. Like, it's bad. It's good and it's bad, you know, because it will really start to shape you into the kind of shaman you're going to be and your abilities. During your third one, that is when your strongest guides come down, that gets released to you. And that is when you are truly and fully in your power and in the space that you need to be. And you have to have the very strong guides, because when that happens, now once you are released by your teacher to be your own teacher, now you will take on students and you will have to show them and help them walk their path too. So it is a lot of work mentally, it can be very, very draining and confusing. You have to take time getting to know your guides and understanding the ease of maneuvering around the spirit world. It's all about exposure. You need a lot of exposure with different clients and different issues, and that's how you know and you'll gain your confidence and your knowledge as well. So until next time, you guys.